Well, I hope that you and you are enjoying the particular interview that we've done thus far. Now, we're getting ready to head into segment number 3 with New America Now with Mr. George and Miss Nan. And I hope that it's really, truly blessing your heart and soul. As a matter of fact, the show just continues to escalate and it continues to get better and better and better. And so I just hope that some way, somehow we can say something that's going to bring about an inspiration in your hearts. That's my prayer. Hallelujah. Stay tuned for number 3. And then there's a 4th one, which will be the last one in this series.
All right. We are back, and we are with Pastor Charles Dowell. So we're talking about how bad things are going to get, and what we can expect from the actions of an immoral society as it has devolved into. How do we then, once the collapse begins and we have our preparations already done, hopefully for most of us, or I think for some of us, because I think a lot of people are talking and they're not doing. But when the poop is flying through the air, what do we need to do in these small communities of ours? What do we, as you see it, what should we be doing? I mean, working together, obviously, but will there be a barter system involved in building communities? Will what will happen with American sovereignty and the global governance and all of these issues that creep up into this area? What's your take on it?
Well, the best thing to do is number one is that people have it in their mind to start storing food. And the reason why you want to start storing food is because you don't want to depend upon, like I talked about earlier, the trucks not going to the stores anymore. You want to, if you can, you want to try to get some animals, like some chickens or some cows, to where you can actually get some eggs, to where you can actually butcher your own meat and stuff and start eating off your own thing. You maybe want to get a greenhouse. We're going to have no choice but to go back to the bartering system, because the people, just like in Weimar Republic of Germany, when, they had printed all these trillions of dollars, just like we're doing here. We're following the same policy in the United States, that people were actually taking, money around in wheelbarrows and using it to start fire, because the money had been devalued so bad it was that it was worthless. It didn't mean anything. So people are going to start using their own goods and services. They may even use a trade that they can have to actually go to fix a neighbor's tractor or something like that, or maybe use gold and silver, because it's going to actually go back to a gold standard. All empires that fall, they all go back. They all revert back to a gold standard. So people will be able to trade, whether they be a goat or a chicken or a cow or whatever you may have, or water. Start storing water. Start learning how to actually produce good, clean water. And while you're doing that and stuff, and also become very, very handy in self-defense. Of course, I'm one of the few pastors that actually talk about stuff like this. Usually people want to act like hypocrites and act like that they have never, as a pastor or a preacher or what they would call a Christian or something like that they would never ever ascribe to want to hit anybody. I didn't say that. What I'm saying is you need to prepare yourself for someone that may want to try to come and make a run on your family. You see, this country, we've been sold. We've been sold down the tubes. And we're going to get that through our heads. So the people are going to start changing goods and services, and sound money is going to restore itself. And we need to actually have community of believers, whether we live in 1 mile, 2 miles, or 30 feet away from each other. But the people are going to have to start getting around like-minded people, because the powers that be have done an excellent job at keeping the American public at each other's throats. They've done an excellent job of staying divided. I mean, for instance, you can go into a town, and today in this society, we would actually see, and I don't want to sound like I'm always jumping on government and cops and all this other stuff. I just want to put facts before our eyes and let us start thinking about the type of system that we're dealing with. you can get on this YouTube and see a 4 or 5 cops literally beating up on a woman, and you got 20 and 30 people standing around videotaping and watching it. Now, what the first thing that I think about is what kind of mindset, number one, that these people have to sit around and watch such a thing. And then number two, what kind of people would actually join and just for a paycheck, a particular system like that will perpetuate all of these injustices upon their own people or their own society. You see, so we're declined. We're big time. I mean, we have gone south in this country, and it's going to take people who are sound. It's going to take people who have a right mind to be able to understand what's going on. Now, I think we probably stumbled across each other when we came across the Senate Bill S510 of the Food Modernization Act. Is that right?
That's right. That was the video that so one of my subscribers has sent me a link and said, hey, this guy is talking about one of your videos that that I had put out because the S510 was being hidden in some appropriations bill, and so the friend of mine sent me a link, and then I got hooked on your videos, and I just kept listening to you. And I subscribed shortly thereafter because I said, you know what, I gotta keep listening to this man because he, this is what I'm talking about. This is like-minded individuals, and the message is very true to me. It resonates with me, and I would like to tell everybody out there, give this man a listen, see his videos. Go back and he's got a few videos there. Go back and listen to some of the old ones and subscribe to this man because he's got a very powerful message for folks out there that should resonate with a logically minded person, but also a spiritually minded person as well. So I'm looking at the missus over here. Do you want to? Anything else that you'd like to add here? I hate to leave you off to the sidelines here.
You've been so horrible today, haven't you? No. I wanted to get back to what you're doing with your community. Like, you live in the South, so you're going to have to find ways to preserve your meat. So what have you done, or what do you plan to do so that when you have extra meat, how are you going to preserve it when the grid is down?
Well, again, some people, they use solar and all the other stuff, but see, that's what I'm talking about again, restoring the old landmarks and land paths. See, there used to be a long time ago, that when people, if they would butcher a cow, or they would butcher a goat or whatever, and they had extra meat left over, they would learn how to salt the meat in order to preserve it. They would learn how to, preserve the meat that way, or they would can meat, if you wanted to eat meat. Now, here we grow. Pretty much, I would venture to say when we sit down at the table and we eat together as a community twice a day in a dining hall. But I would venture to say that we probably when we sit down to eat, we probably 80% of what we actually eat comes from our own land, what we produced our own self, or whether it be from hunting. Or butchering a cow or growing our own food in our own greenhouse. I mean, we try to do our best, whatever it takes, to not be dependent upon a system. Now, I can tell you that I've spent a lot of time and a lot of money lately going out buying dry goods. I've been buying wheat. I've been buying a lot of rice. I've been buying lentils and pinto beans, and I actually got a couple of videos up on there and actually how to use proper storage for those in order to keep it for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. So we're preparing for the things to actually happen, but we also have to go back and read these books because a lot of knowledge that we should have known is sitting there in that grave, in the graveyard. And so we have to actually educate ourselves and learn how to take care of ourselves in this time that we're living in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if we can remind everybody that your most important asset is your brain in a situation like that, and trying to not only acquire knowledge but having the skills to get through and use that knowledge, because you can have knowledge, but if you don't know how to apply knowledge and common sense is not common. So, getting to, it's true. I mean, you see a lot of people that without common sense, so it can't possibly be that common then.
That is the truth.
But in acquiring knowledge, and like you said, a lot of this knowledge is in the graveyard. A lot of these people have passed on and taken it with them. People don't know how to salt meat. People don't know how to cure a ham. People don't know how to even slaughter an animal because they're so used to buying meat under a plastic wrap at the supermarket on the shelf. They have no clue how this is done. And some of them say, well, I wouldn't be able to kill my own animal. Well, then, like you said, there's going to be a lot of bellies hitting spines if that's the case, because people will have to start providing for themselves. And if they don't want to kill anything, well, then you're going to have to be a vegetarian, won't you?
That's true. Can I mention something about this Senate Bill S-510, or this Food Safety Modernization Act that they passed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, now that's how we came across each other. And of course, it started in November, but it was in November 30th of 2010 that the actual Senate itself voted 73 to 25. And that's how they ended up passing the thing. And then something happened with the paperwork. It just wasn't right. And of course, Ron Paul at that time told us that it was going to come back again. See, everybody started getting excited and thinking that, okay, all right, good. Now we dodged the bullet. And so we're going to be fine. But he said, no, it's going to come back. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up for a second is because I want the people to understand the resolve of the people that we're dealing with. So the 111 Congress, they changed the name of the bill. And after only about 50 minutes of debate with no input from the public whatsoever at all, they passed it under H.R. 3082, which was the Military Construction and Veteran Affairs and Related Agency Appropriation Act of 2010. And it became law December the 13th, 2010. And so why is this important to us? Well, I'm getting ready to get to it, the reason why it's important. You see, because this new law gives the FDA surveillance powers. It gives them the power to surveil us, to watch us. Now, if the FDA suspects that anybody is engaged in the production or the sale of food and they deem it unsafe, like raw milk, they can put you under surveillance without any warranty, without any warrant. They don't need to notify you or anybody. And so they're watching over the people who are actually trying to get self-sufficient because they want you under their GMO foods. They see, because as long as you continue to keep going to that grocery store, you're going to stay sick because everything you get in that store is laced with chemicals. It's laced with stuff that is harmful to the body. And so they have actually passing laws and making laws, and they think that they're God. And they're actually making it so that even having your own homestead, you can't even produce your own food and even use it for your own consumption, as well as if you wanted to, watch this, the word we used earlier, barter with each other and stuff. They have made it illegal to do that. Now, that's the type of resolve of this government that we're dealing with. See, they want complete, total control over every aspect of our lives.
Oh, absolutely. And now that the all waters of the United States, whether they be standing or moving, have been considered under certain acts as federal waterways under the jurisdiction of the EPA. So, they want to control rainwater even before it hits the ground.
Ain't that the truth?
So they don't want you drinking. They don't want you eating anything that they don't have a control on. And that's the way they like it. Because if they control
that's why I come back and say it's important that people, and they don't like it. That's all right. They don't have to like it. But, that's why I made a video. And I said, when I had my AR-15 up there, I made a video and I said, you're going to need one of these. Because if a thief breaks into your house, whether people like it or not. There's a provision in there to protect what we have. And I don't care if they're wearing a badge. I don't care if they have a gun. I don't care if they have a uniform on. If they trespass on your property and try to take away from you actually existing, which is a God-given right. The Constitution does not give us rights. They merely list the rights that we already have because we exist. And so people need to understand that. So we're dealing with a people that you can't talk with, you can't reason with, and they're going to forcibly try to do everything they can. So we're going to have to turn around and make up in our minds what we're willing to live for and what we're willing to die for. Now, what I just got finished speaking about, all this, if somebody want to come and try to take what I have, it's not because, hey, I wasn't preaching the gospel. I wasn't on the side of the street corner, and neither was I Paul on the Damascus Road, or I wasn't Peter preaching to the Italians and Cornelius in Acts chapter 10, and I wasn't getting beaten like Christ was because he was preaching the gospel and stuff. I'm either going about just regular, old, everyday self-preservation. That's what I'm talking about. Now, if I'm going out there and I'm preaching the gospel and somebody wants to retaliate against me, I have no recourse. I have to take what's coming to me. But when it comes to protecting ourselves, and that's what we need to do. The people need to learn you're actually going to have to protect yourself from your own government.
It's unfortunate. It's sad. But like you said, Jesus said, sell your garment and buy a sword. And it is very true.
You know, people, they really hate to hit on subjects like that. A lot of preachers do because they don't like, they don't like to bring up stuff like that, because every time you start talking about self-preservation, or you show a gun, or you have a gun, and I would tell you this, and I've been what you would call, quote unquote, saved for almost 20-something years. Now, what's amazing to me is I have never met a minister behind closed doors that did not have a firearm, and that's what's amazing to me.
So in other words, behind closed doors, they've got it, but they can't feel that the teaching self-preservation is something that they want to push out there, because that's violence, and we can't speak the gospel and talk about violence.
Right. That's the guys that they want to try to mask it under and put it under. But you know what I'm talking about, and of course you could tell here in these last hour and a half that we've been talking, that everything that I'm doing, it's actually giving people direction. It's giving them what they should be having in their minds, what they should be trying to do right now in order to prepare themselves. Because I'm telling you, what are we going to do in this country when they snatch Social Security from the older people? Or people can no longer go to the bank because there's a bank holiday and get the money that they had in there out. What are they going to do? What are they going to do when there's no longer any food stamps coming? And it is coming, because that is what we're seeing over in Europe and in the Middle East is what I'm talking about right now. And all I'm trying to do is help wake up as many of us over here that are across the pond that have the ears to hear, so that we don't see you're not going to see Pastor Dowell down in downtown Nashville, Tennessee, with a weapon in my hand firing up on that house, because I've got my own homestead out here and I'm prepared. Is that making sense?
Oh, absolutely, because it's what we're going to start seeing are, just like in Wisconsin, you're seeing the people that have been made promises, the people that idolize the God of government. Right. Those people that have been made those promises are realizing that this God that they have been worshiping does not keep its promises, does not fulfill its promises, and so all of a sudden it's their livelihood, and they're left in the wind. And regardless of how you feel about unions and about all that stuff, these are the people that, when things are removed from them, when the promises are not kept, they're the ones that are going to get up and get mad, because they are not self-sufficient. They are dependent upon this beast, and it's the most dependent of us all that will rise up and burn everything down when they don't acquire the things that have been promised them.
And you've hit the nail right on the head. And that's a very key statement, dependent upon. And the things we're talking about here today, and what I'm trying my best to send a message forth, even in the YouTube videos, is I'm trying to teach people, number one, You've got to have the Most High in your house. You've got to have Yahweh in your house. You've got to have the King of the universe, because without him, you don't have any direction. You don't have any recourse. You don't have any salvation. And then number two, he's the one that gives you his Holy Spirit, that actually gives you this direction to where you're not dependent upon government, the God of government, as you said, which is so true, but you're dependent upon him. So I have a lot of people in the faith that would question me, well, Pastor Dowell, what kind of faith do you got? I mean, where's your faith in God at? Where's your faith? Why come you're doing all this stuff? Why come you got guns and bullets, and why you're storing up food, and why you live way out in our country? You know, I get questioned like that all the time. And I tell them, because that's what God teaches me. They said there ain't no faith, because they come from an abstract viewpoint. Well, it is faith. Because when you read Hebrews 11 chapter, there's a faith chapter about people. Faith without works is dead. And so the majority of the people that have learned what they call faith today is actually a dead faith, and it's not a working faith, a live faith.
Well, Pastor, I heard something years ago, was a man who every day would get on his knees at the foot of his bed and pray to the Almighty that he should win the lottery that day. And every day he would get there and he would put his hands together and he would look up at the sky and he would pray that he would win the lottery. And after 365 days of doing this, he said, God, you have forsaken me. And he heard a voice from the sky that said, you got to buy a lottery ticket, buddy. Because without that action, you got to meet him halfway. He's going to help. But if you don't play, if you don't act, if you don't, actions, a very, someone who means a lot to me over the years and who has given me a lot of advice and is like a mentor to me, always says, actions speak louder than words.
Yes, sir.
And let the actions of the things that you do define who you are, not the words that people have and the labels that people have for you. Let the actions that you do upon this earth and that you do to your fellow man and you do in your family life, let that speak volumes about who you are and what you are.
Yes, sir. I mean, that's going back to my YouTube videos. A lot of people are drawn to me because I'm different than the mainstream Christianity or the mainstream pastors out there. They when they see the videos, they see, okay, now wait a minute, this man just ain't talking. This man is actually doing, and then he's talking. He's actually showing us what we need to do. So that's why you'll see my videos. I have preaching and teaching up there, as well as physically what you need to do. And I actually have how-to videos to show people how to do it. I mean, can you imagine being able to start a fire without a magnesium block or a match or a lighter?
Yeah, and we could see you out there skinning a deer and
Yes,
cleaning it out and everything. It's the pastor's a man of action. He's not just talking.
I've been surrounded, by wonderful, wonderful brothers and sisters. I mean, we homeschool all of our children. My children were homeschooled, and they've grown up in the ways that way we have taught them. And they're very bright and intelligent, and they understand. They understand very well what's going on. And when they get older, providing that this earth hasn't just been literally turned upside down, when they get older, they'll know how to survive in this system if I'm dead and gone. They'll know how to function. They won't have to depend upon nobody else. I mean, you take the Amish and Mennonites. You look at people who we would consider extreme when it comes to civilization. They're sitting out there and they don't have any electricity and stuff there, but yet and still people drive to their places every single day to either get some type of service done, whether it be shoeing a horse or them selling some honey or maybe even some grain that they had from their own field. They are able to survive. And we have actually had that taken away from our actual nature, our actual human, God-given nature has been robbed from us.
It's a shame. It really is. Pastor, we will take one last break in this segment, and again we are here with Pastor Dowell, and we will be right back after these messages.